I will try to be brief, which is not exactly my forte, but I took the agenda to heart, where it was about lessons that we've learned. And what I wanted to talk about is what I have learned in 30 years of marketing, how it relates to the insurance category, and particularly what I've learned about the importance of personal branding. We talk about insurance in particular as being a relationship business. And in a world where social media is growing, and we talk about building relationships, individual branding, personal branding becomes much more important than it ever was before. It's a lot easier to have a relationship with a person than it is with an agency or a company. And if there's time in the Q&A, ask me about how I view that relationship between, for instance, agencies and producers and the rest of it. But ultimately, bottom line is, you've got to build a brand for yourself. We're in a world now where everybody is viewed largely as an independent contractor. And the gist of it is, the same principles large companies use to build their corporate brands and achieve their initiatives are the same principles you can use as an individual to build your personal brand and achieve your professional goals. Here is the here's the insurance industry. This is the way the consumer views the insurance world. Which of these silver fish would you like to be? You know, big fat one, cute little yellow one. Obviously, this is what you want to be, all right? That's who you want to be. We all say we want to be different. We all say we want to be the leader. But what we really do is we do more of the same in different ways. You know, we decide, go ahead, we decide we'll just be the biggest, or we'll be the yellow one. We'll change the color of our logo, okay? Don't let me fall down. That would wreck the whole deal, all right?
Stop moving.
That's not how you differentiate yourself. One thing that I have learned is that different is better than better. Your job is to differentiate yourself from everybody else who does exactly what you do. And there are various ways that you can do that. But the bottom line is you differentiate yourself. The question is how, okay? In my experience, I've learned there's pretty much two ways that we do it now. There's tools and technology, which is what you do, and there's content and communication. Now, in the world we live in right now, a lot of focus on tools and technology. If I just build a website, if I just get on Facebook, if I do this thing, if I do that thing. But what I've learned is that technology doesn't guarantee you're going to create great marketing or you're going to do a great job. In my experience, I have learned that very often technology just helps you do a really, really bad job more efficiently. It's not just what you do. I believe it comes down to content. I believe it comes down to what you say. I believe it comes down to having a brand statement that differentiates you from everybody else who does what you do. All right? Because no matter who you are, at some point, you're going to be sitting across the table from the prospect, and they're going to ask that killer question, and it's always the same question: why you? What are you saying? You can't just point to your website. You can't just show them your logo. Nobody's going to pay a commission for that. What do you say? So, go ahead. There are a lot of aspects to branding and brand building and moving your personal brand forward. I'm going to focus on one thing, helping you create a brand statement, and we're going to do it in about 3 minutes. All right? I'm oversimplifying here. All right? But all you've got to be able to come up with is a brand statement that says who you are, what you do, how you do it, and the benefit to your customer. If you can cover those 4 things, you have what we call in sales an elevator pitch. In marketing, we like to call it a brand statement because it sounds really fancy. All right, but there are 4 basic elements that I can show you in about 3 minutes. It starts with your name. All right, Robert Allan Paul. It's on all my business cards, all my correspondence. It's been that way for 20 years, but it wasn't always that way. You know, when I was growing up, people called me Bob or Bobby. But it didn't take long after I graduated from college to realize that 60-year-old business owners didn't want to take marketing advice from a 22-year-old kid, much less a 22-year-old kid named Bobby. So I sat down with a piece of paper and a pencil and looked at all the different iterations of my name. You know, Robert is a fairly serious name. You put a little more trust in a kid named Robert. Bob is someone different. Bob is every man. Bob's the guy who loans you his lawnmower. All right? Bobby is someone entirely different. All right? Bobby's a lot of fun, because Bobby's never really grown up, but you never loan money to a grown man named Bobby. All right? You gotta pick a brand. You've gotta pick a brand that means something to you and means something to your customer. All right? Number 2, your core competency, which is a fancy branding way of saying, what do you do? You go to a party, you meet somebody, you walk up to them, you say, hi, I'm John Johnson. They say, hi, John, what do you do? What do you say? What do you do?
In communications.
I'm in communications. What do you do?
Communications director.
I'm a communications director. I'm an insurance agent. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm an Indian chief. All right? But that's not what you do. What you do is not your occupation. It's not your title. What you do is a summary of your accomplishments. And what you have to do is take a look at, don't be taking pictures, there's no time. We've got 20 slides. This is speed branding. All right? Hit the button. All right? I've been on the media side, I've been on the agency side, I've been on the client side. But when I look at the common denominator of all the things that I have done, my core competency is helping companies grow. You've got to decide what the common denominator of all your accomplishments and achievements is. That's your core competency. I help companies grow. What do? Put the camera down and hit the button. All right? You move on to brand attributes, which is, again, a fancy way of asking, how do you do what you do? Let's say, hypothetically, all of us said, because we're in insurance, we create peace of mind. And we all have the same core competency. That's fine. It's how you do what you do that differentiates you. You've got to come up with some adjectives that describe you. What's your brand personality? If you went and talked to your friends and said, hey, what 3 adjectives come to mind when you hear my name?
Uh-oh.
All right, what would they say? Write those down. All right, you ask me how I do what I do? My brand attributes? Well, let's talk about this. Skip through that.
Skip?
Skip it.
Okay.
Skip it. Skip it, skip it, skip it. We're running out of time. I'm looking at Rick. The clock is ticking. All right? Go ahead.
Okay.
All right? I tend to tell people I'm analytical, inventive, and aggressive. Now, if you're looking for a mate, someone who describes himself as aggressive, may not be your cup of tea. But it's relative. All right? There's context here. If you're looking for a guy to help you grow your company, someone who describes himself as aggressive may not be so bad. And once you've gotten to that, now all you got to do is come up with a brand promise, which is what's the benefit of doing business with you and the way that you do what you do. What will you do for me? All right, there are a lot of ways that you can develop this, but the easiest way is, what would you expect from someone like you? You do the math. If I'm analytical, inventive, and aggressive, then what I usually develop are marketing programs that are on time, on target, and on purpose. That's what you'd expect from somebody who's analytical, inventive, and aggressive. If you put those 4 things together, you have the beginning of a brand statement. And it sounds something like, I'm Robert Allan Paul and I help companies grow. I'm analytical, inventive, and aggressive, and as a result, my clients enjoy marketing programs that are on target, on time, and on purpose. Now, it's not exactly advertising copy, but it's the beginning of a marketing message that serves as an elevator pitch, as a brand statement. And that's how you differentiate yourself from everybody else who does what you do. That's how you start to build a new brand you.
Awesome.
I'm here every night. Don't forget to